One of the biggest complaints about X and Y, and as much as I love this generation, I share this criticism, is that none of the new Pokemon had Mega Evolutions. Mega Evolution is such a beloved gimmick in this franchise, and the generation that it was introduced in only gave it to returning Pokemon, which is crazy. Even the starters and legendaries didn't get a Mega Evolution. But with Legends ZA coming next year, they may just have the chance to rectify that. After all, we're going back to the region these crystals were originally found in, so I thought it would be fun to go over the Pokedex of the Kalos region and see which Pokemon I think are most likely and most deserving of getting a Mega Evolution. And to be very clear, I've avoided and will not be reading any leaks that involve future projects for the Pokemon Company. So anything I get right or wrong in this video is purely based on speculation. I refuse to view the leaks of any projects that have not released yet. That disclaimer out of the way, how do we decide who gets a Mega Evolution? Well, it's important to note that for the most part, strong Pokemon don't really get them. And I need to stress, for the most part. The majority of Mega Evolutions, and I think the best use case for Mega Evolutions, are taking normal or average Pokemon, figuring out their gimmick and either inverting it or cranking it up to the nth degree. And I really believe that Megas are best served when helping those weaker or more average Pokemon get time to shine in the spotlight. A perfect example of this is Mawile, one of my favorite Gen 3 designs. I love how it looks like some unsure yokai creature, but its stats have always been kind of middle of the road. So giving it that Mega Evolution makes it a lot more viable to use and much more likely for players to pick up. So as cool as a Mega Aegislash would be, I feel like this list I want to focus on fully evolved average Pokemon. After all, I think they're the most likely, and even though Pokemon Company likes to give Mega Evolutions to Pokemon that were already crazy powerful to begin with, I would really prefer this list focus on the less powerful Pokemon. That, and I mean, it's obvious that if we're getting new Megas, we're going to get Mega Evolutions of the starters from Gen 6. Speaking of, let's start with them. Straight away, Chestnut is one of the least popular starters I've heard about. It comes down to the design, and a lot of people just don't really like a defensive grass type. And that's what Chestnut is. But what if a Mega Evolution flips that on its head Excelgor style? We already have this great defensive stat, so take 70 of those points away and give 20 to attack and 50 to speed, and another 20 from special defense and give that to speed. And honestly, give it Moxie too. The idea of this Mega Evolution could be a warrior taking off his armor to increase his speed in a final drastic maneuver. Think like Rock Lee taking off the ankle weights and then speed blitzing Gara. I think it would be a really fun concept for this defensive Pokemon to have a Mega Evolution focused all around a desperate struggle for speed and strength. Moving to Delphox, since this Pokemon is already based on a mage, you know what really cool mages have? Big staffs. So what if for the Mega Evolution of Delphox, we ditch the wand and instead give her a giant staff? Take some of its special defense and speed and put it into special attack. Just a big, slow damage dealer. I think it could be fun. And if we really want to make it cracked, give it like Pixelate but for fire moves. I don't know if that's already an ability, I couldn't find one, but essentially Pixelate turns normal moves into fairy type moves. But do that for fire. Greninja is a tricky one because we don't want it to get the Charizard syndrome of like, gee Game Freak, how come you gave 7 forms to this dragon? Because Greninja already has Ash Greninja, but obviously it's still deserving of a Mega Evolution. I'm just unsure what the best way to go about it would be. I think what could be fun is swapping the aesthetic of Greninja, since it's already obviously ninja based. What if for its Mega Evolution it leans more into a samurai, taking half of its speed and splitting it into attack and special attack, making it a bit slower but massively stronger. But like I said, those are the starters, and they're only on this list because they have to be. What other Pokemon deserve Mega Evolutions? I feel like early route Mons that are meant to be a little bit weaker are always a great suggestion, giving them more viability later in the game. I've made it no secret that I hate Diggersby. First of all, I just tend to not like defensive Pokemon. I like things going really fast. But even beyond that, I don't like his design. It makes me uncomfortable in a way I can't quite describe, like I wouldn't leave my drink around him unattended. But at the end of the day, this Pokemon deserves a Mega Evolution, and it's a defensive Pokemon surrounded by dirt. So what if we crank that up, lower his speed, lower his special attack, and pump all of that into defense? And then for the design, instead of just that dirt belt, what if he's like half underground with his big ears coming out of it, or surrounded by a massive mound of dirt? I think it could be fun. Moving on to Talonflame, Mega Evolution does make sense in a way, but honestly, I just think Talonflame is good enough of a Pokemon and popular enough that it doesn't really need Mega Evolution versus some of the other Pokemon on the roster. So while a Mega Talonflame would be badass, I don't think we need one. But speaking of Pokemon that deserve it, Vivillon. I'm admittedly kind of stumped on Vivillon as far as what direction to take its stats. It's kind of just mixed in everything, so it doesn't excel super well in anything. But as far as design goes, that's where I get a lot of inspiration for it, because the idea of a massive Vivillon with all of the patterns on its wings is awesome. Now, that is a little close to G-Max Butterfree, so maybe we just skip the butterfly, but I still like this idea regardless. Okay, this is huge. Originally, this ad spot was going to say that this plushie was going to be around for one more day, but the kind folks over at Makeship actually extended the campaign for one more week. So if you have not gotten a Toast plushie yet, you have like 7 days or 8 days or something. I think it ends the 16th at 11 p.m. I'll try to do a big old stream at least the day before or something to try to get this little guy to 400. I really want to try to sell 400 of these guys. We're very close. We're almost there. If you have not gotten one yet, you have one more week to do it. It's got two sides. How can you not want one? You want one. Consume product. Okay, bye. Going through the Pokedex next, we get a couple of Pokemon in a row that are just too good to need a Mega Evolution. Pyroar, Florges, Pangoro, Gogoat, they're all plenty good enough, and Florges is amazing. They don't really need a Mega Evolution, as cool as it would be. But next, we get Furfrou. And for how much effort and time they put into making Furfrou fun and customizable, it's really weird they didn't make it very good. So I think Furfrou makes a lot of sense to deserve a Mega Evolution. The fact that they've devoted all this time to a Pokemon that not many people use because of its weak stats. And I think a really fun way to take it would be giving Furfrou super long, majestic hair, since it's all about its hair and styles. Similar to Mega Altaria or Mega Ampharos. Just really lean into it. And since Furfrou wants to be a fast attacker, lean into that too. Take some of its defense and special defense and pop up speed even higher, making it the fastest thing on the field. So fast its hair is trailing behind it. The next Pokemon is actually the inspiration for this entire video, and that's Meowstic. Because of this entire Pokedex, Meowstic is the epitome of a Pokemon that deserved and would have benefited massively from a Mega Evolution. It's cute, it's well-liked and popular, but it's not super powerful. Top that with the Y Pokedex entry.
The eyeball patterns on the interior of its ears emit psychic energy. It keeps the patterns tightly covered because that power is too immense.
So like, you see the vision, right? This is the perfect Pokemon to make a Mega Evolution where it takes off its inhibitors. The power is too immense, but just this once. It's going to open up those ears and be an unstable glass cannon. Take down its defense and special defense super low and push all of those numbers into special attack. Make it this jittery, unstable, dangerous creature on the field for as long as it can survive. Aromatisse and Slurpuff probably deserve Megas too, because they're also pretty average, but I just don't. I'm gonna be super honest here. This channel has kind of become like a passion project. I get to talk about stuff I like no matter what, and I just really don't care about these Pokemon, so I don't know. I don't feel like figuring it out. Maybe they can just swap aspects like the Gen 5 bugs or something. I mean, I couldn't figure it out, so why don't you tell me in the comments below what Aromatisse and Slurpuff should be for Mega Evolutions? Is that better? Anyway, we then start moving on to another list of Pokemon that are so strong they don't really need Megas. Malamar and Dragalge are definitely on that list. Barbaracle is strong, but he could use a Mega, but he's not getting one because he's ugly, so who cares? Now, technically Clawitzer also belongs on this too strong for a Mega list. By all means, Clawitzer is incredibly powerful and already incredibly popular. He's one of my favorite Pokemon for this entire generation. He does not need a Mega Evolution. But is it not so tempting to give him one? Specifically to give him an even bigger gun. I mean, there's that, or there's the other way they can take it, where the Mega Evolution, he just puts the gun down, and he's just an incredibly fast little shrimp with no other good stats. I don't know what I like more, but at the end of the day, it's very funny. Then we move on to some more strong mons, because we're getting later in the Pokedex. Pokemon like Heliolisk, Tyrantrum, Aurorus, Sylveon, all these Pokemon are plenty strong and plenty popular. They do not need Mega Evolutions, as cool as some of them would be. But a Pokemon that I do think could use a boost, and is a little left behind, I think, is Hawlucha. He's one of our only fighting flying types, and I think he would benefit massively from a Mega Evolution, but not necessarily stat-wise. His stats are good. Obviously, we can crank them to be a bit more severe, but imagine how much Hawlucha would benefit from a Mega Evolution if it gave him the ability No Guard. For those of you who don't know, No Guard means any moves directed at or made by the Pokemon never miss. so he'll get hit more, but think about how scary a Hawlucha could be with some extra stats and moves like high jump kick and bounce that won't miss. Low accuracy moves with higher damage. It would fit Hawlucha so well and be such a fun Mega Evolution to play with. Dedenne and Carbink, I don't think are popular enough to warrant one. They're both kind of forgettable Pokemon. Like, they definitely could use the stat boost a Mega Evolution would give, but it's a Pikachu clone and a rock, so like, whatever. Moving on after that, we have Goodra, Trevenant, Gourgeist, and Avalugg, and they're all pretty strong enough that they don't need one either. But Klefki though. Look, I've made it no secret that I love object Pokemon, especially ones based off fairy tales, folklore, and yokai, like Klefki is. But Klefki is a steel fairy type. This is a type that only like 2 other Pokemon have, it's that good. It would be a shame to waste it on someone who is essentially just a status Pokemon, right? Like Klefki is fast with no other good stats and has Prankster, so it's pretty much just there to set like Trick Room and stuff. But imagine a Mega Evolution that adds a lot of sharp keys to Klefki's ring, and Klefki is just spinning rapidly the whole time. So it's this dangerous ball of Steel Fairy. Take 30 of its defense and special defense and special attack, put 60 of that to speed and 30 to attack. Just make him a sweeper because why not? That would be so fun. And after that, we have Noivern, who's already cool and strong enough to not need a Mega Evolution. After that, we get the legendaries, and as likely as a legendary Mega Evolution is, they don't need one, so we're moving on. And, well, I guess not moving on, we're done. Again, at the end of the day, I get that strong Pokemon can have Megas too. Many of them already do, but I really want to focus on how we could improve some of the more average and weaker Pokemon by giving them a Mega Evolution, and I hope that we see some of them in Legends ZA. Obviously, Pokemon Company knows how much the community loves Mega Evolution. Also, one more request. Can Mega Evolution not hurt anymore? I hate that canonically in the lore, Mega Evolution is like incredibly painful for Pokemon. That's unnecessary. We don't need that. It makes me feel sad when I use it. In the meantime, don't forget to get a plushie. The kind folks over at Makeship actually extended the deadline. Today was supposed to be the last day, but they've just recently made it so the Makeship plushie gets 1 more week. So please try to get one if you can. I want to try to get this over 400, and I'm going to be doing a long live stream on the main channel on the final day to try to drive up those numbers. But if you want something else to watch in the meantime, last week I had a video on not Pokemon, but just Nintendo in general, specifically if the Switch 2 will do well in the console wars, and you can watch that video right here. Until next time, you've been watching Rytoost. Of all the YouTube channels, it's the second one.